Howdy. Hello. I think I'm on. Happy Sunday afternoon. Kind of a nice weekend. It's been raining here, so it's all nice and cooler than it normally is. I'll bet somehow still horrendously humid. Yeah, so let's see. If you are joining us, then I'm CounterTop Commander, and I do kind of casual EDH type stuff. Normally on Sundays, I'd be playing a game with kind of some beginner decks. That's normally what I do. That may be something that changes up. And then about midway through the week, I typically do a much more complex game with different themes just based on what I want to do. And sometimes it ends up with Plains Chase, and sometimes we end up playing I end up playing goofy decks. So basically, when I do play games, it'll be I'll play multiple decks against each other all at the same time, which is really fun. But today we are going to do some deck building. So to kind of introduce, there's there's somebody that I follow who is sort of slash kind of was a pro player. I would say he's still a pro player, but I'm not sure what necessarily qualifies that as what qualifies a pro Magic player anymore. He's well known in the community, Brian Wiesman. I pay attention and I follow what he does, and one of the things that, well, lately he's been just playing Commander, or primarily Commander, and he plays a very competitive version of Commander, which is not what we're trying to get into here today. But a lot of times when I see something that he builds, I get the urge to maybe try to make something that's uses the same Commander, but is played more or geared more towards the play style and kind of feel that I'm going for. I've done it before in the past. I didn't do a deck building stream showing it. It's a deck that I've had for quite a while now, but I actually consulted Brian on what he thought might be some changes that you could put into, because he plays 1v1 and I play primarily group play. And so I talked to him. I sent a few emails back and forth to him about how to change his deck structure over from a primarily 1v1 to more of a group play thing, because there's definitely a lot of different dynamics that are involved in that kind of switch, especially because a lot of the 1v1 stuff they had, and it was a not Dakin, Drawnu. So it was a Drawnu Lick Lord deck, and so a lot of the cards in the budget version that he had was built for 1v1, where we're often countering spells 1-for-1, and that kind of structure, or destroying creatures 1-for-1. Whereas, and well, that works because you're playing only against one opponent, but when you're playing against maybe 3 opponents, those tit for tat 1-for-1 stuff doesn't end up working as well. So it was kind of fun getting to interact and kind of figure out a game plan that might work better. And I wanted to sort of do the same thing with another build that he's been playing with. Probably he says maybe the most broken build that he's ever made before. Specifically for that sort of competitive 1v1 commander. So I'm working more towards sorry, I was getting distracted for a second. I've been working or looking at it and kind of thinking about what I can do with this one so that it's less 1v1. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the premise is for why it's sort of a busted deck. And here's the cards that we're going to look through and maybe try to build from. I don't know that we're necessarily going to finish deck building today, but we're definitely going to give it a shot and see what we can get together. So pretty much the premise is it's these two commanders as partners together. And Tevesh, Zat, Doom of Fools, and Rograkh, Son of Rograkh. So the thing is that we're going to talk first about Tevesh, Svat, Doom of Fools. Let me see about putting it on the screen here. Let me switch around and see if I can't. No, that's the wrong one. That is Rograkh. Let's look at Tevesh. Hang on a second. There we go. Okay. Tevesh Zat, Doom of Fools. So he's a planeswalker, 5-cost planeswalker. He starts with 4 counters on him. He has a +2, create 2 0/1 black throw creature tokens, and then a +1. You may sacrifice another creature or planeswalker. If you do, draw 2 cards, then draw another card if the sacrificed permanent was a commander, and then finally a -10. Gain control of all commanders. Put all commanders from the command zone onto the battlefield under your control. Presumably that one is the one that's going to be a potential win condition for us, especially in a multiplayer game where we have 3 opponents. It's going to be particularly insane if we get Tevesh out and steal all the commanders, because there's just going to be no hope for people. In that case, people would have to let their commander die, or they'd have to exile their commander or shuffle it into their library. Something crazy like that. Ding, 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 ding. We're getting the bells. Hang on here a second. Let's see. Okay. So with Tevesh, that's a pretty straightforward one. 5 cost is a little high for a lot of the really powerful commanders. That's not to say that Tevesh isn't a powerful commander. He is, but normally when you talk about powerful commanders, we talk about the 3 cost and 4 cost ones specifically, because they're just being able to get something out on turn 3 or turn 4. Looking at, the original Liliana. Or no, wait, I guess Liliana of the Veil is a 3 cost one that's really, really powerful. Jace the Mind Sculptor is a 4 cost one, often considered one of the most powerful. There's a 4 cost Chandra, Torch of Defiance, I believe it is. That's really strong. Just a lot of examples that are in the 3 or 4 cost range that are considered the most powerful. So Tevesh kind of floats just above that, with costing a little more than that. But it does have some interesting abilities. The first one definitely is interesting just because you can use it to create blockers for yourself. Especially a blocker, and then having one to sacrifice the next turn if you want to draw 2 cards. But the second ability is really where the linchpin here in this whole plan is that if you sacrifice a commander, then you get to draw 3 cards. Now, why would you ever have the opportunity to sacrifice commander, especially unless you steal somebody else's commander? Well, that doesn't seem like it would ever happen. Well, that's where Rograkh, son of Rograkh, comes in. That is because this guy is a kobold, and he costs 0 mana. So the moment you get up to 5 mana, you play this spell, this commander, then you immediately can play Rograkh. That's what it was. Rograkh. And let me go ahead and pull that guy up on screen again. Here we go. Rograkh, son of Rograkh. He costs 0. 0 mana, so you just immediately play it and sacrifice it and draw 3 cards. And then the next turn, you pay 2 colorless mana, you play him again, you sacrifice him, draw 3 more cards. That is an incredible amount of value for this color combination. Being able to draw 3 cards, and especially so in the 1v1 range, that is very, very powerful. Being able to so easily draw 3 cards, and with the commander that costs 0, there's a ton of other different things that we can do with it. And in addition to that, its second ability, so it's a 0 cost 0/1, but then it also comes with First Strike, Menace, and Trample. So the First Strike and Trample don't really mean much. He's generally never going to be high enough to really matter for the First Strike and Trample. But the Menace means that we can attack with Rograkh if we need to, and be able to hopefully dodge being blocked. So you could attack with him, maybe deal 0 damage, but get an effect because you attacked. And then during your second main phase, sacrifice it to Tevesh in order to be able to draw 3 cards. So there seems to be a lot of value in this combination, and that's still going to be true for multiplayer. It maybe not quite as true because if you think about it in terms of card advantage, we're drawing 1 card to our opponents, drawing 3 cards each round of turns. So Tevesh is only drawing us 3 cards, so we're only just we're matching the cards drawn there and then drawing 1 extra. So we're really only at maybe 1 card advantage. But the fact of the matter is that that's still a very, very good effect, especially one that's so easily and consistently repeatable. It's going to provide us a ton of advantage, and red black is a really strong combination if you have the right cards in it. So I think what we need to do is we need to do what we normally do here, and we need to separate all the cards that we picked out. So like I said, this is going to be, it's going to have a lot of similarities to the one that Brian Wiesman built, but we're also going to have our own flair in it because we're not going to be necessarily buying cards. We're just going to be sticking in the cards that we already own, and going from there. Now, I guess the other question is one of power level. Normally, I'm one to build more on a casual side, and this is going to be an unusual deck building session because we're going to try to go for we're going to be going for a little bit spicier, potentially with the possibility of including some kind of we may be going a little bit into the higher power levels with this deck. I'm not exactly sure yet. I'm guessing that we're going to be sort of outside of the strictly casual range by the time we get done. But I'm sort of okay with it because I don't generally build decks like this, and I don't know, it'll be interesting to see and maybe to play and see if we can tune it in a manner that either we leave it as a competitive deck and maybe potentially make it more competitive with very few inclusions, specifically ones that allow us to get into some kind of combo range, which is generally what a competitive deck in Commander is going to do. It's going to aim for the scene for competitive play is very leaned towards combos and less towards strict control, and there is a little bit of stacks and like death and taxes kind of stuff, because specifically there's stuff like blood pod I think is still used, which is definitely meant to try to tax your opponents out of being able to combo out and then wear them down with powerful low cost creatures essentially. So I think there is a little bit of that, but pretty much there's almost zero straight aggro. I don't know that there really is a true aggro deck in competitive Commander at all. So pretty much what we'd be doing is we'd be sticking in what else we need for a infinite combo, and that would be one of our primary win conditions with the deck if we go towards a more competitive version, like down this way. If we go the opposite direction, then there's definitely a lot of room to make something that's casual. This is also going to maybe experiment a little bit with part of the reason that interests me in this deck, and in this combination, is specifically that I've always kind of wanted to try to do some kind of light stacks like deck in Commander. It's one of the only strategies that I have zero representation of. I just have no representation of anything that has to do with lane destruction or stacks in any form or fashion. I've tried to build a lot of different types of decks. I have a semi-chaos build, which is another boogeyman in casual play a lot of times. I have sliver decks that I've gotten people... I have a sliver deck that people have said that they don't mind. I have I have like a group hug or a couple different group hug decks that are generally acceptable, and often, like I said, they're kind of a little taboo to play. So I've managed to play a lot of decks that are often considered to be boogeymen. And I'd like to try to find something that has a sort of stacks feel without making it miserable to play against. So I may ultimately take whatever I make here and play it a few times to see how it feels, and then take lessons learned and maybe tune it. But like I said, that's all dependent upon making or aiming for some kind of group play, so we're definitely going to have to figure that out. When you do deck building, a lot of times what you want to do is you want to decide like different categories about what you're aiming for. So like you want to have cards that do stuff with Let's say it's especially with Commander, you're limited to 100 cards. We're actually limited to 98. Generally, you want to start out with about 40 lands. I think Brian Wiesman's competitive version of this deck goes down to 31 lands, if I remember correctly. So that's much smaller. That leaves a lot more room for other cards in it. I don't know that we're going to get that low, but we're definitely going to be under 40. I'm guessing maybe 37, maybe 35, but we don't want to go too low. His deck is going to be a lot more. Is going to have the capability of being a lot lower because of the competitive nature of it. They're going to have a ton of ramp cards that give them all the different colors that they need. We're going to try to achieve something like that, but it may not end up exactly looking that way. So in any case, sorry. So with the like 60 cards that we have left, or 58 in our case, we're going to look for sort of different categories to label each of the cards in so that we understand what the deck is trying to do, and we have basically an outline of how the deck is going to function, and then applying cards to each of those categories to make sure that the deck does what we think it's going to do. In this case, for most deck building, you're going to want to have a category for mana. You're going to want to have a category for removal. Oftentimes, you're going to want something for recursion, but that may tie into card draw. You're definitely going to want to have a card draw category, and then maybe a win condition. So again, it's sort of like, let's see, mana, removal, card draw, finishers is sort of the 4 really primary categories you're going to want to have, but we can definitely have, like as many as we need to be able to figure out what we want to do. Like I said, recursion is a really good one to have. Let me think about this. Mana or ramp I don't know. Well, let's go ahead and start off with those 4 categories, and we may have like essentially an other category that will fit things into. Sort of utility is normally what I call it. So like this card right here, Duretti Ingenious Iconoclast, as a planeswalker, this is sort of utility because it creates tokens that we can sacrifice to Tevesh, or it can sacrifice artifacts to destroy stuff, and then we can bring things back. So this is kind of a utility card. It can be used for a bunch of different things, and same for this one. But removal, I'm going to put this is over here. This utility is way over on this side. So mana, removal, card draw. This is a search card. I mean, it's a tutor, so it's not really card draw, but it sort of fits under the same vein. So we're going to put it there, and that's primarily, I mean, we're going to have card draw with our commander, but we're going to want to have some amount of tutors to be able to get removal and things that we need when we need them. So let's see. This actually is technically, potentially, these are probably part of our, what is it called? Our finisher package. These are 2 cards that by themselves don't really do anything. They really need another card to do it, but they can essentially 2-card combo with other cards, and we're going to decide if these are cards that we really want to have in, and if we can manage to win without them, and then if we want to be more competitive, then we can try to find the other cards that we need for making them ultra competitive. So actually, I'm going to make another category over here, which is recursion, because recursion could be very, very useful to us later on. And let's see, let's do utility up here. The other one we need actually is the stacks element. The discard and stuff like that, that's kind of separate from this removal type stuff. So let's see. This is, well, this isn't really stacks. This is kind of utility. That is definitely stacks. And we have some lands throughout the deck, so we're going to, oh wait, this is over there. Yeah. Oh, recursion. We may end up having some duplicates of things, like I accidentally pulled the second dual caster mage, so I'm going to go ahead and set that off screen because we don't need it. Ooh. Oh no, wait, that's mana. Card draw. It's going to be interesting with some of this stuff. Yep, there's another potential win condition. That Havoc Festival is definitely a type of win condition. It's removal. I think we'll put Bolas's Citadel up there, I think. Okay, we did already do Kaya's Ghost Form. I was just kind of finding different cards, and my process for finding cards through the cards I own is not always consistent. I sometimes just keep pulling the same cards over and over again. I'm really excited to see how some of this ends up going, honestly. Because I think probably right there. Recursion, actually, well, yeah, I think that's probably good. Let's see. Okay, I only put this in because I was thinking, I didn't remember what Rograkh's, sorry, abilities were. Let's see. First Strike, Menace, and Trample. So as much as this gets the, it doesn't get the Menace. It does get the First Strike and Trample. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and cut this out of the cards that I pulled, because when I was pulling it, I didn't have Rograkh next to me, and then I didn't end up going and looking it up. Okay, that's recursion. One of the things that we are going to be light on is lands. Lands is going to be the one thing that we don't have a ton of. And we're going to have to think about... Sorry. We're going to have to think about how to set up our lands, because we don't have a lot of the competitive lands that we should probably have. So that may be something for later. Let's see, destroy. Recursion. So this is a tricky one. This one, it's kind of up to you when you're going through cards and you're not sure what to put things under. Just kind of make a decision, and you can always change it later. So in this case, Anathemancer. Anathemancer. Ugh. He deals damage equal to target player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. Honestly, he's probably going to get cut, but still the ability to just kind of slap this down and really hurt somebody who's relying heavily on non-basic lands does have some kind of promise, especially within the amount of recursion that we're thinking about putting into here. So this could be a good card, but it doesn't really necessarily fit under our win conditions, because we don't know that it's actually going to finish a game for us. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in utility for now. Let's see, yeah, we're going to do that in Aftermath. This removal land. Oh, this is almost certainly mana. Let's see, this is utility as well. Card draw. There, removal, mana. So we have some of the really strong, actually, we already pulled Icefall. I know that one for sure. We pulled a lot of the really, really good ramp cards, artifact ramp cards, but it's possible that we're going to end up getting rid of them. I mean, not rid of. We're not going to have all of the ones we need, is what I should say. This is over there. Removal. This. We already pulled a Havoc Festival, so we don't need that one. Okay, which I know that I saw Mind Twist. And let's go and go with the what looks to be older version of Mind Twist. That's one of the cards that's kind of like, is this going to be what I'm going to do for sure? Especially Winter Orb over here. It's not a deck. This isn't going to be a deck that I would play against everyone. Hey, how's it going, Mafia? Just kind of getting started with the deck building here. To kind of reiterate from earlier, there was a deck that's being played around with by Brian Wiesman that uses these two commanders. I'm not going to be building exactly what he has because I don't play one-on-one commander, but we may be getting something that's a little spicier than the casual gameplay that I'm normally used to playing. But we have a lot of the cards to build something that has a bit more spice to it. So I'm tempted to build it and then see how it goes, basically. Let's see. So, I thought I'd pulled an Underground Breach, but I didn't. Interesting. I don't think that I missed doing it. That kind of means that this stuff... Okay, Tevesh and Thrasios, yeah. Definitely a lot of value out of the command zone, and so the goal here with this Tevesh Rograkh is that you pay the 5 cost for Tevesh, and then you immediately can 0 cost Rograkh into play and draw 3 cards off of it. So that ability to just so easily draw 3 cards off of that combination, and then the next turn all you do is pay 2 colorless and immediately draw 3 more cards. Seems really, really strong. It seems like a very strong combination, and I would like to see what it does in a sort of more multiplayer setting. That being said, Sultai combination and Commander is... I mean, that's basically all of the best color types, generally speaking. You're missing only some cards from red that are really good, and then white removal, pretty much. I guess you are missing some cards like land tax and swords to plowshares and some of that. Well, enlightened tutor. You're missing some of those cards that are some of the tutors and some of the really, really strong removal, but there's a sparse few of them in white that are exceptionally good, I should say. They're normally like a good secondary color, and red is, I think, maybe a slightly better secondary color. It seems like, at least when it comes to sort of more competitive play. But yeah, let me think about this. Where do we want to start? So we don't need the land anymore. Let's go ahead and put those aside. I want to leave these kind of out to remind us. I do own copies of them. Yeah, enabled turn 1 of those as well. Yeah, the copies that I have are currently in other decks, so I have to go grab them at some point. But for now, I'm going to try to build something without them, and then aim for getting those later. Because, like I said, I'm not necessarily looking to build the most competitive version of this. Because if I was going to do that, then I would just go and basically copy card for card the Brian Wiesman's deck list, because he's playing a very competitive version. I mean, like, he's aiming for the most competitive version of it. that he can, while I'm sort of not. Those are very, very good cards to have. Let's see. I want to set aside most of this stuff. Actually, I think... Let me think about this. I do want some recursion, but not too much. I think Grim Harvest is probably one of the better ones that I'm going to have here. Let's see. Let me think about this. I just pulled all of the ones that I came across that I thought might be okay. And I'm thinking almost all of these are going to go away, but I wanted to basically pick the best ones of these. Let's see. Yeah, so because I think that what I want to do is probably mainly use it for getting Rograkh back into play, and that's why Grim Harvest is probably the best one of them. But it might be okay. Is this from any graveyard? Okay. Let's see. Claim and Fame. I'm not thinking that one so much. This one, Swift Warkite, might be okay, but I think that we're going to be pretty low on our creature count, so I'm afraid to put that in other than just for an Anthemancer and Rograkh. I think more universal recursion is probably what I want to go for. Although Kaya's ghost form actually might be pretty good now as a means to protect Tevesh. I'm wondering if maybe I go with this and then maybe Necromancy, and I'll toss the rest of these for now. Mainly because, like I said, we don't have very many creatures. Dread Return, it seems kind of cute when we can make creatures with Tevesh, but doesn't seem like a good enough reason. Claim and Unearth are pretty much only going to hit Rograkh, so they're not going to do me any good. Call to the Death Dweller might be good if we had a combination of, if we had just a few more low-cost creatures. Man, I feel like I have a Dark Confidant somewhere, but I don't remember where it got put, so I'm going to have to... That would be another card to have in this build that I don't have on me right now. That I didn't pull it from the cards that I have, so I'll have to think about that one. Yeah, and the rest of these are... This one would be good, again, if we had multiple creatures that were going to be dying each turn, so I don't think that that's going to help us. And the rest of these two are probably just too expensive, so I think that's what we're going to do. Animate Dead is probably the only one that's sort of flittering on the line of could be good, and like I think if Necromancy didn't have the ability to play it with Flash, then I think I would take Animate Dead instead, just because of the cost here. Okay, so at least that's one pile out of the way. Let's go ahead and take a look at our mana here. So we do have a wide range of mana. We have zero cost stuff. This is sort of high end, or high end, and or they require specific setup. Okay, let's go with... Normally I go with the original version of Dark Ritual. Let's go ahead and go with the with the Torment one. Or is that, wait, let me think. Is that Torment? This is sort of mid. These are mid as well. Let's see. Okay. Lots of great mana. And pretty much, I think that I'm going to want to put in virtually all of them. I think Battle Hymn is maybe the only one I'm going to go ahead and take out just immediately. I wasn't sure when I pulled it pretty early, and I wasn't sure if I would end up with a lot of creatures. So I think that it's probably okay to go ahead and pull it now because I just flat didn't get creatures, but we do definitely want... Oh, did I pull 2 versions of Mox Opal? That was a mistake. I thought I pulled a different Mox. Okay, well, that's okay. We'll just put this other Mox Opal up here. We have some sleeves already. We're going to take apart this deck with Rograkh. So, that's why it's already in this particular case, this one's already in a sleeve. So, let's see. I like how low to the cost it is, and then any of the higher level ones that we have... like really Treasure Nabber is the only one that I'm not sure about, but being able to gain control of every single artifact that anybody taps to do something with seems really good when we're on a more multiplayer stuff. Hey, Dr. Crypto. Or, let's see. Cryptic. Sorry, Dr. Cryptic. Just deck building, honestly. I'm trying to make something a little bit meaner than what I normally do since I play more of a casual build. We're trying to go for Tevesh and Rograkh. If you are familiar with either of those. This is going to be probably leaning towards more of a stacks build. We're going multiplayer type gameplay instead of 1v1, so... Oh, you're new to Magic. Okay. How new is new? Have you been to any drafts, or do you know what you're doing when you're playing? Everybody is still learning how to play Magic, I guarantee you. Everybody who thinks they know what they're doing is like one more set and they'll lose their grasp on the ability to play, I swear. I'm so far behind on new sets now, so I haven't bought a new set since Kaldheim, so I'm really, really far behind, which means I'm building from old cards, essentially. Why give your cards away that you paid for? Well, because sometimes it's fun. Draft is kind of a weird format, so... And if you didn't want to give away your cards, you could always... Not right now. I mean, definitely not right now since you're just new. But there is a type of draft-ish format that doesn't require giving up cards, and that's called Cube. And you actually just build your own booster packs. You just, you own whatever cards you do, and you sort of randomize them and build your own booster packs, and that's what you play with. So then, everybody just gets to have fun with whatever you want to play. However you want to play. So what kind of format do you play? Do you play Commander, or do you play like Standard or something like that? You need some guidance? Well, how about Commander and Standard? Okay. I haven't played Standard in a very, very long time, so if you need any help with that, I am zero help with that. The last time I played Standard was I think it was probably like actually played Standard. Let me think about that. I built a deck for Skarza Maraudon. Maybe built a deck for Theros, the very first Theros deck. So, or first Theros block. So that was a long, long time ago. Um, I may look it over here in a little bit, but if how about just describe what kind of deck you're playing, and we can talk about what you're trying to get out of it, because that's kind of what I'm doing right here is kind of explaining deck building or sort of a deck building process. So there's one card you have and you don't know where to exchange something for it. Okay, well that's a good start. So what is the card that you're wanting to put in? And also, like I said, what kind of commander deck is it? What kind of power level, and what are the commanders? Let's see. Do I want to go into? I think I want to do card draw next. Get a taste for what kind of card draw we're looking at, because I think that, let's see, single cards here, blowout cards there. This isn't really a blowout card, but it's somewhere in between. These are like single cards. This could be a blowout card. Well, no perfusion would be better if I had Underground Breach. Okay, so mono white angels and Lyra Dawnbringer. Okay. Let's see. Let's go ahead and bring up Lyra Dawnbringer here. To remind myself, I remember seeing it a while back, but it's been a little bit. Okay, so flying first star lifelink. Other angels you control get +1/+1 and have lifelink. Cool. That would probably be a good commander for a deck that I have. So I often on Sundays, what I do is I play beginner decks. I have 10 different monocolored tribal decks that I play against each other as sort of a here's how to play Magic. And one of the mono white decks, tribal decks that I have, is a sort of lifelink angel deck, surprisingly enough. Yeah, Helm of the Hosts. So you have Battle Angels of Tyr. Be nice for the other cards that you have. Okay. Yeah, Helm of the Hosts is the one that copies, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Some nice cards you got there. Let's see. And let's Battle Angels of Tyr. Let's go and look at that too. Battle Angels of Tyr. Battle Angel. Okay, there. I just misspelled angel. That's the problem. Okay, it's a battle. Yeah, so I'm not familiar with this card at all. Let's see. Deals combat damage, draw cards. That player has more cards in hand than each other player. Then you create a treasure token if that player controls more lands than each other player, and you gain 3 life if that player has more life than each other player. Okay, interesting. I could see that, yeah. And with the Helm of the Hosts, being able to make copies of Battle Angels of Tyr would be really fun. That's definitely true, especially if you have the lifelink out, your commander out, to be able to give them all lifelink. That'll get you a ton of life really, really quickly. I mean, you won't get the mirror. Well, let's see. Let me think about this. You won't gain any of the life from from the dealing damage thing if somebody else has more life than you, because that's quickly going to not be true. You don't want to battle helm on the battle angels. Well, you can. That's so. What I was meaning is, I mean, you can do it on your commander, but if you did it on battle angels of Tyr, then the myriad ability triggers for each of them, so you can get a ton of lifelink off of that because you have the meld angel. Yeah, Bruna. Bruna is an older one. I mean, I say not really older one. This is an older one. The Winter Orb is an old card. um, let's see. Let me think. I guess right here. Well, let me put some tutors somewhere else. Tutors over on this side. Okay. So a good question for you is if you're already comfortable with a lot of the cards in your deck, um, the one problem that Angels basically has, generally speaking, is their high converted mana costs. They typically have a ton of cards that cost a ton of mana, and it's always a problem trying to get enough mana to do all the things that you want to do with them. So it's possible that you may want to consider if you've been finding that that's a problem with your deck. It's possible you may want to consider maybe if since you're trying to add Helm. Let's see. Yeah, if you're trying to add Helm, then that's going to be essentially a like to be able to get the effect for Helm of the Hosts, you need 9 mana, unless you have something to cheat out either the equipment or the cost or both, right? So that's essentially a 9 converted mana cost card. So basically think of it like if you take out like a 7 or 8 or even 9 cost Angel, you'll be replacing it with Helm of the Hosts, and it'll fit into it pretty much that same slot because it'll cost that much mana to actually get it out and equip it. If that makes any sense to you. It does mean that you're maybe taking out one of your splashier ones, but that's sometimes the sacrifice that has to happen, you know what I mean? Sometimes you have to take out the cards. It's always tough. You want to put in all of the cards that look pretty or look good and make you feel good, especially I mean, like I said, with Angels, I know exactly how that feels because there's so many really good Angels in the index. Okay, Gilded Lotus is a really good one. We actually have Gilded Lotus right here. It was kind of turned to the side. Oh, man, we're so bled out on our view in here. Our cards are kind of, this screen is a bit too bright. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Now we can actually see cards again. Which is unfortunate. I have to make it a little darker in here. Yeah, so that's what I would say. I would consider with Helm of the Host costing so much mana, almost certainly my first suggestion would be to look at your high cost Angels and see about replacing one of them because of, I mean, yeah, you're taking out a good Angel, but Helm of the Host is going to connect with any of the other Angels that you're going to play. And so it's, I mean, in a sense, you're kind of playing or paying 9 mana to get maybe a copy of a 4 or 5 cost Angel, but like you're getting multiple copies of it over time. So that's going to be really, really good ultimately. And definitely have enough mana if you do that. Smothering Tithe is a great card. Having some lower cost stuff that can get you mana early on is also going to be very helpful. I mean, Soul Ring, of course, is the go-to for basically all commander decks. Not necessarily every single one, but a lot of them anyway. To kind of get you from that, like, from the low end of 2 and 3 mana up to the like the 4 and 5 cost spot, so that you can get the Smothering Tithe and the Gilded Lotus, which will help you boost you into the next category of cards, because it's sort of like 1, 2, 3 cost cards are the low end, and then 4 and 5 are the next slot, and then anything 6 and above is another thing altogether. Okay, that's a good one. I mean, 2 mana for getting. I mean, costs 2 mana to get you a land is. Or, well, I guess maybe an artifact. Could be an artifact. Knowing white. Okay, so let me think about these tutors. Sorry, my clock is going off. Yep, good old grandfather clocks. Okay. So I think for here, what we're looking at, I think tutor-wise, we have probably too many tutors. Let's go and get rid of Breach, or Beseech the Queen. Diabolic Intent is always going to be really, really good. I like Vargoth, but it may be that. Well, this is going to play in with a little bit with our necromancy stuff. Having to attack to be able to activate it kind of stinks. But I'm kind of thinking maybe getting rid of Wishclaw Talisman as well. So then we're left with 4 tutors. I've heard Tome of Legends is just crazy freaking good with this build because Rograkh is a 0-cost commander and attacking. It has Menace, so it'll give us triggers on Tome of Legends so that we can draw more cards. So I think that's actually good. Dark Tutelage is our kind of poor man's Dark Confidant. I don't like it, but it's going to have to do. Let's see. I think because I don't have... since I don't have Underworld Breach, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the Null Profusion because I think those two together end up being really, really good. But without the other one, not quite as good. So Ad Nauseam is probably the other one that we're going to leave in. But that means that we have a bunch of these other cards that aren't necessarily quite as good. Let's see. Well, not so much that, just that they don't fit into these kind of clear categories of stuff that we have. So, this is an opponent chooses 2. Okay, so I think let's go and put Deliver Unto Evil away. I did kind of just... Well, actually, do we need too many of these is the question. I'm wondering if maybe not as much. Let me think. Maybe just Dark Deal because it reduces people's hand size by 1 and potentially messes up their plans. So let's go and leave Dark Deal, and we're going to set the rest of those aside. This is the draw package we'll go with for now. Do you have enough draw effects in your commander deck? I mean, especially repeatable draw effects, where you're drawing more than a, it's not necessarily an effect that you pay a cost once and it gives you like 1 card and then the card's gone and it doesn't do anything else. Actually, where are we at on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't want to think about that yet. I'm going to try to forget. I'd have to look in a bit. Yeah. Let's see. So this is our stacks package. Let me think about this. Do we want to do stacks or removal? Maybe removal first. Let's go ahead and look at our removal. So since we're playing in a more multiplayer environment, we're going to want more sweepers unless they are exile effects. Like spot removal exile effects are good. I don't know how many of those that we actually have. We're going to want artifact destruction is going to be really good for us, especially because we can't do anything about enchantments really. There is the possibility for colorless removal, but I mean that'll be able to get rid of an enchantment, but we probably don't. We have 0 of those pulled out for this deck. So yeah, let's go ahead. So like this is really spot removal, even though it can remove more than one creature. This is sort of Wrath. Artifact. Well, this is actually kind of a catch-all. We're going to put that at the end because it can destroy an artifact. It can exile all the cards from a graveyard, which is really good in multiplayer. Or if we need to, we can use it to hit somebody hard for having a swarm against us. Graveyard removal is also generally pretty good in Commander. I think we're almost certainly going to want Icefall because we can take advantage of Rograkh with it. Let's see. Let's go and put that to the side. This is spot removal. This is, well, it's kind of group removal. That may be one of the few creatures that we actually have in this deck. Spot. This is sort of spot. Let's see. This gets rid of 2 creatures, but it doesn't get rid of more than that. So I'm going to say sort of. It's not quite either. Let's see. Oh, spot removal. Oh wait, did we already put in a terminate? No, it doesn't look like it. So there's our terminate. Yeah. Oh, Fleshback Marauder plus that other one's going to be really, really good. This is utility at the end. I think we're going to want to make sure to keep those utility ones. I think maybe let's go ahead and leave in Tormod's Crypt because we do need to make sure we have enough artifacts, and that's for Mox Opal. So we want to be sure to have enough artifacts, and Tormod's Crypt will kind of help with that. Let's see. With spot removal, like I said, it's really tricky to use spot removal in Commander. At least in the Commander that I'm going to be playing generally, which is in a group, because we really want it to be able to kill a creature. We either want to make sure that a creature never returns, or we want to try to kill all of the creatures all at once. So Sever the Bloodline is probably the best one of that. But that being said, ones that cost nothing or next to nothing are also really good. So Dreadbore isn't quite as good. It costs very little mana, and it can kill a Planeswalker, but it's a sorcery speed, so it's kind of on the lower end. This is like a removal that we probably want to get rid of. I pulled Oubliette, an old copy of Oubliette, just because I happen to have one. I should probably put that away. I think Dismember is probably a really good one because that will get us around indestructibility if we need to. I typically like Pyroblast in non-blue decks so that maybe we can take care of something that's blue. It doesn't always end up happening that way, but sometimes you need a Pyroblast. Okay. The rest of these, let me think about this. Because Ashes to Ashes is sorcery speed, but it exiles 2 creatures. So I think we're going to want that. I feel like I almost want Curtain's Call. Because in a good game, it's going to cost 3 less, and it's only going to cost 3 mana to destroy 2 creatures. I'm kind of feeling like maybe we do that. But that does leave us with no ability to... Let's go and leave Curtain's Call in here for now. It means that we basically have no ability to get rid of Planeswalkers, which is kind of problematic, but we'll find out. We'll see. That may be a change for later to make after we play the deck and see whether or not it actually works. So, Slum Reaver and Fleshback Marauder, I think I kind of want to play because we have that Grim Harvest in there. A Mass Exile effect is going to be really good. Fire Covenant is always really good. Better than it seems like it should be. Let me think about this. Maybe we do Magma. Maybe Magma Quake is here. I was thinking about Molten Disaster because we can kick it and make it so it has split second. So then it basically can't be countered. But the ability to potentially hit all of the planes, like everybody else's planeswalkers, seems like it might be worth doing. So after that, let's do... I'm kind of torn between Nightmare Unmaking and Black Sun Zenith. I think that we're okay with Black Sun Zenith. Let's see. And maybe let's put in Blasphemous Act. I think we're going to be cutting a bunch of these cards. So just letting you know. This is a strong possibility we're going to be cutting one or more of these cards. Because I'm pulling too many at this point. Icefall, I said I wanted to be sure of that. Repeatable effect with Gorilla Shaman seems pretty good. Especially the ability to destroy copies of artifacts. Like artifact tokens like mirrors that have 0 converted mana cost. We can hit this for 1 mana. Really, really good. So let's see. 3 cost to destroy an artifact. I kind of would like... Man, I wish I had... I really need Vandal Blast, and I need Shattering Spree. I need those two, really. I think it's Shattering Spree. Let me think about that. There's one with Replicate. Is it Shattering Spree? Yeah, okay, yeah, and that one is a slightly more expensive one now. What is Vandal Blast going for now? So Shattering Spree is like $4. Oh, and Vandal Blast is going for more, generally speaking. There's one copy that you might be able to get for like $4.50 or so, but the rest of them are the rest of the copies are more expensive. That figures. Let's go and do Ingot Chewer as our third one, and that's going to be good for a preliminary look at the removal suite that we have. I think this is all we're going to want to do with this for now. I think we need to look at some of this other stuff. Win conditions, knowing the cards that are in the deck now. Havoc Ritual, definitely. Reiterate will be good for infinite mana. But the rest of these, not so much, because we don't have anything. We don't have something copying creatures like Kiki Jiki or something like that. And we also don't have the sorcery that copies creatures. So I think that we're going to go ahead and slam those out. And this is going to be really our only, like, additional win condition type cards. Now, looking here at our utility, I'm putting off the stack stuff until last. These are all sort of individual, unique cards that may or may not mean anything or do anything for us. So I'm kind of like, what do we have here? I think we're basically for sure Kolgan's Command and Duretti. We're putting those in for sure. So the rest of these, if I had some combination with Bolas's Citadel, that would be really good. But I don't have anything comboing with that. I'm kind of thinking that with the artifacts that we're generally going to have, Cranial Plating might be a good card. Especially when it comes to Rograkh as sort of a backup plan. Yeah, we're pretty heavy on artifacts. And being able to attach Cranial Plating to any number of creatures, I think that wins itself a slot here. We're going to go and put that up here. Okay. Stick this back over here. Okay, let's see. So that's good. We want as few of these as possible out of this section. This is such a learning process and a headache. Deck building takes a lot of effort. It definitely does. And I've been building commander decks, and I've been building decks for quite some time now. I've been building decks since a very long time ago, like 2008 or 9 or something. So I still am not all that amazing at it either, and I definitely know that I'm putting in bad cards. So that's the other thing about it. I actually think Loyal Apprentice is going to be really nice for providing a blocker and a potential sacrifice target for Tevesh, and it's going to feed into our stacks elements as well. So I think that's going to be really good. Nice. That's quite a thing, man. What got you into Magic then? Did you see Magic while you were over there or anything? I know so here's the thing, the guy who started Commander, I don't know if you know who started Commander, but it's Sheldon Minery. And he was actually military as well. And that's kind of part of what got him into Magic originally was I think it was like he was stationed in Alaska for some period of time, and guys up there started playing and he joined them, and maybe it was in Alaska when he developed Commander. I don't quite remember for sure exactly what the story is, but you're in good company playing Commander. Never taught the people who didn't have money. Okay, well, I hear you there. The cards that you see right here, definitely on the expensive side, but because I play more casually, generally, like this, what you see right here is not representative of what I generally play. It's I normally play casual. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, what was it? Sorry. So I built a lot of cheap decks. I mean, seriously, like $20, $20 commander decks. Now those commander decks are a lot more expensive now because cards just seem to generally trend upwards. It pretty much doesn't matter what the card is; it's going to slowly increase in price over time. But there's definitely ways to still make cheap decks. I don't know exactly what my cheapest deck is. let me see if I can't look at some of my budget builds, or budget at one point anyway. Because the $20 deck, oh, here we go, $31 or so for actually a fairly strong deck, honestly. Not like a actual competitive, but it's definitely higher mid level type stuff. I have wrecked a number of games with this with this $30 deck. Yeah, I try to do as best I can. Try to, like Gurgi is saying, try to see how cheap I can make it while still making it playable. I currently have, let's see, 7 different decks that at least originated in part on trying to be trying to be like a budget deck. Let me see. This one is all messed up. I kind of want to see what this draw new build. So the the deck that I'm playing right now, or that I'm building right now, it's predicated off of another player, Brian Wiesman. And I built a budget deck based off of his budget deck build, his competitive budget deck build, a while ago. And I actually talked to him about trying to build it and see what could be done to make it a good deck. Except, you know, like since he plays one-on-one, I play sort of group play. So I kind of talked to him about what I could do to make it into more of a group play deck while still maintaining that sort of budget feel. So let me see if I pull all of these cards out. Sorry, I'm looking at the list right now. That's what I'm doing. I can't see chat for this second. So it's about $43.50. So it's still doing pretty good. That's not too bad. Okay. Okay. Well, I said that because I mean, I know that there is sometimes downtime, not like a ton of downtime, but I know that sometimes there's downtime and there's things that you can do and devote your time to. But yeah, it's not like fun and games or something over there. That's not what I meant. I don't want to make it sound like that at all. Let's see. Ritual. I took out Cloud Piercer. I was thinking about that in terms of mutating it onto Rograkh to get a 5/4 first strike menace trample commander, but I think that that's just such a limited effect, and I didn't pull out any other mutate cards. So Ritual of the Machine seems like it could be a really good one, but I don't know. I think that one is sort of a meta call. If I'm playing against a lot of decks that rely heavily on their commander, then I can get it early from them using Rograkh, but otherwise maybe not so much. So let's see. I want to put Bolas's Citadel in here, but I feel like it doesn't do what I want it to do when I want it to do it. So we're getting closer to the end here. Pithing Needle seems like a really good card to stop other planeswalkers if I need to. So maybe Pithing Needle here. Hero's Blade is just raw plus minus stuff, so let's go and get rid of that. We're not going to be doing attacking unless we have Cranial Plating, so let's go ahead and take it out. Okay. Well, that's good, because, like I said, I mean, I understand. So, I at least heavily considered doing something military when I was thinking about college and stuff, and I ended up not doing. I ended up going to college instead, so it was something that I thought about at least. and I want to say my like grand uncle or something was active military. Well, not active, but he was a professor at one of the military academies. So I do have some military in my blood, so to speak. Let me think about the rest of this. Tectonic Giant is often such a really good card with the ability to get pseudo card draw and also sort of be an extra finisher. I'm feeling inclined to go and put it in maybe over Anathomancer. Anathomancer is what I should say. But we are down now to these last two utility cards. And Past in Flames would be really good if we were doing anything with like Underground Breach and Null Breach and stuff like that. I think Past in Flames maybe is the one that we're going to take out, but Skyfire Phoenix, having additional like basically a free recursion every time I play Rograkh, seems really good. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. We may pull it out later. That's sort of one of the weaker ones on our utility side, but let's see. So when it comes to stacks, we have discard effects and sacrifice effects. So, well, and then we have static sort of stop people from doing things. So let's see. Yeah, it's really like this. That's what I should do. Let's see. Sacrifice effects. This is a stall tactic. Stall, discard, sacrifice, discard. Okay. That gets us in good categories here. If you have any interest, I can show you some of the budget decks that I've built, but they're not going to be angels. Let's think about this. I think Smallpox is probably too small of an effect. Pox is a really, really good effect for us. Smokestack is going to be really strong. Let's see. Is this creatures, lands, and... Well, let's see. Life, hand, creatures, and lands. So it's not going to hit artifacts. That's all I care about. Okay. Let's see. We do want discard effects. So I'm going to say Scepter Fugue is probably one of the better ones. Sire of Insanity is almost amazingly good. I think that Duress and Hymn to Turok would be cards that we would put into a 1v1 deck, but in this case, I think we're going to go and take it out. Yeah, probably. I don't have a mask while I'm talking to myself in my room away from people. Is that actually seriously? I don't even know. I was taking it as a joke, but now I'm actually kind of curious. Is there... Okay, desktop audio's on. Okay, good. I would have laughed if that was the case. Oh, Pox. Okay, yeah, there's a card called Pox. In fact... Hang on a second. There you go. The copy that I'm using is this one, which is 5th edition. So yeah, it's a real card. It's great. It really is a very strong card. Let me think about this. Mind Twist and Rakdos' Return both lose a lot of value in this build because we're playing against multiple opponents. So we can empty one person of their cards, but we're not going to be able to empty everybody of all of their cards all at once. There are ways to do it. There are creatures that do that, but well, cards/creatures that do that, but it still may be good to have one of them in. Just as a one of, if somebody draws a bunch of cards, we can just turn around and maybe make them discard their whole hand. So I think Mind Twist is better for that because it costs less mana and it does randomized. So that's going to be helpful. Now, Skullrend. I think we want to go ahead and play Skullrend for now and see how it does. So now we need to look at the rest of this and let's think. So these are definitely ones that we're going to play, but we need to look at the static effects that slow players down. So I think Stranglehold and Winter Orb almost certainly go in here. Mana Web is really just to stop counterspells. It's really not... Well, actually with Winter Orb, it's going to really annihilate some people. So let's go ahead and leave Mana Web in. God Pharaoh's statue seems like a good one. Do we have any creature effects that activate? And I don't think that we do. So Cursed Totem may actually be a really good one for our deck as well. So now we're left with these four. Orb of Dreams really helps everything slow down. With Winter Orb even more. Let's see. I think Karn the Great Creator is the good one to have because that's going to shut down the artifacts that everybody else has. So we're going to go ahead and play that one. Trinisphere makes everything... Low-cost cards cost more. Which can be very, very helpful. But is it going to be good enough? Let me think about that. Because it also screws up Rograkh. I'm actually going to... I actually think that maybe these effects aren't what we want in the deck. I think we want the rest of these stuff to mess with card effects that we don't... that won't affect us. And then stuff that... Like, God Pharaoh's statue does really good at giving a generic boost in costs to make everything really hard for other players without really doing anything towards us. Mana Web and Winter Orb locks everybody's lands down, and then Stranglehold is kind of maybe one of these effects that will really really hurt. Like, Stranglehold is the card that we're going to play instead of Opposition Agent. Because Opposition Agent is the easily stronger card because whenever an opponent would search for it, would search their library, we can play Opposition Agent in response to it and get whatever card they were going to search for. But we don't have an Opposition Agent, so we're just going to use Stranglehold instead. Okay. Now we have somewhat of a semblance of maybe a deck, but we have to figure out how many cards we have and then start cutting down until we get to... I think we're going to want to aim for... Let's see. I think 37 lands, so 63 cards is what we're going to look for. Bring out Uncle Ted. So 2... 67. Wow. That's actually really, really close. Only 4 cards. That's closer than normally. I'm normally at. Normally, oh, I said Stranglehold. Yeah. Yep, right here, Stranglehold. Oh, come on, camera. Come on, focus. Sort of. It's there. Let's see, 67 cards. We have to cut 4 cards. We could arguably try to go to just 2 cards to cut. Because we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, actually, it's 1, 2. Well, really, these don't count. It's really more like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's actually a decent number of ramp cards. But is it enough to go -5 against 40 lands? That is a very, very good question. Maybe we should try it and find out. Find out how bad of a game we have with only 35 lands. That would be very unusual. I don't know that I have another deck that has 30 less than basically 35 or less lands. Fewer is the correct word. Fewer lands. So what do we get if we're just going to pull 2 cards out? What cards are we going to pull out? So I think Curtain's Call is one of them, because even though it's going to be cheaper, I think that we just go ahead and say that one. Also kind of thinking Skyfire Phoenix. It's really just because Rograkh is a free card that I can do Skyfire Phoenix. It provides another free... It provides us free sacrifice effects. It gives us a flying card, which we basically have 0 flying creatures in the deck. Generally, it's good to have some kind of flying or flying protection, but we're getting around that other ways. Let me think about what we've got. It may be that we want to pull a different card, because Dark Deal isn't really doing us all that much good. And it would allow... Well, does it allow... This is kind of a tough call. Maybe we get rid of Kaya's Ghost Form, because I really do kind of want to see what Skyfire Phoenix does, and Kaya's Ghost Form really was only specifically for Tevesh more than anything else. Yeah, let's get rid of Kaya's Ghost Form. We'll see how Skyfire Phoenix does. Okay, so one last thing. We've got the number of cards that we want in the deck. So one last thing that I like to do before I finish deck building, I like to get a good look at the converted mana cost, how it aligns up. So we're going to just separate here so that, let's see, we do have 0 cost cards. We'll put that over there. So let's see if we... So basically it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so on. So hopefully we don't have too many high costing things. Basically, that's what we're looking at. Is everything in our deck so expensive that we're never going to be able to cast it? That would be very bad. Very, very bad. Ouch. There's a 6. We're not too worried about something like this that is triple mana cost, primarily because, well, actually, Mind Twist we're going to want to put probably up here. So it's more representative of how much it's really going to cost. Let's see, this is only going to cost 1. We're almost certainly never going to pay 5 for that effect. Ooh, anything 6 and above, ouch. So this is probably up there. This as well. Yikes. We are a little on the high converted mana cost side. Although, I guess I haven't quite gotten to some of these other cards, but that being said, I'm seeing not great for being so few on mana. Okay, that feels a little bit better. Okay, here we go. There's all of the cards that commanders were leaving out just because we really want to see the rest of the deck, the majority of the deck. Okay. So the reason for doing this is because it gives you a visual representation of how your deck is going to play, what turns are going to be really heavy with cards that are in your deck, or the turns that are most likely to be really heavy with cards that you're going to play. Generally, so basically this curve, we can kind of see where this curve is, which is actually really nice curve with going from low cost, very few low cost, well, let's say, like our end down here is much more narrow, and we get thick in the middle around the 2 and 3 cost slot, mostly the 3 cost slot. So our converted mana cost is almost certainly in the 3 range, which is good, but honestly we would almost certainly rather it be more like 2.5 to 3. But we're pretty much evenly split here. And actually, let's see, because of these high cost cards, even though, we have a bunch of these X cost cards up here, which their converted mana cost is technically down here, right? But we're going to be paying this much mana for it. So essentially, if you have all of your cards on this end right here, where you're like sitting at a 4 and 5 average converted mana cost, your deck is going to be very, very, very painfully slow unless you have some way to cheat out costs. I do have a deck that does look like that. It has like all of the cards are like 4, 5, 6 up to like 10 converted mana cost, but then everything below that and also the 4 cost cards are all cards that are basically like put something into play directly for free. So it is possible to build something like that. It's just going to be a very casual deck even still. Even cheating the cost of cards, it's going to be a casual deck. So I think we're going to want to go ahead and pull 2 more cards out, and it's probably going to need to be up here. So in that case, let's go ahead and take out Skyfire Phoenix. I want to try it out, but I think that it's not going to be good for us, and we need to pull something out from up here. It's sort of tempting to do Skullrend, but I think that we're okay leaving it in. Let's see. So the question is, what else do we pull? I'm kind of eyeing the Slum Reaper, actually. I think the Slum Reaper may be the card we want to pull out. So let's go and do that one. It combos really well with our Grim Harvest. But we already have Fleshbag Marauder. We have a bunch of tutors. So we'll just find Fleshbag Marauder and Grim Harvest if that's what we're going to do. Slum Reaper, boo. Yeah, too bad. But that means that we're at 37. And I feel more comfortable with how that's going to play out ultimately. That's a better split for this build than otherwise. Yeah, I think this is good. I think this is what we're going to do. So that's kind of the that sort of deck building tips from me for competitive decks that I generally don't play. But at least I have a deck and I can try it out now. Haven't understood that many words. Yeah, well, that's kind of how it goes if you're not familiar with a lot of this stuff. And I've been doing it for quite some time, so. Oh, there we go. Hit half an hour. Um, have you have you already run out of space on Midjourney? I know you got the like regular version, but have you already run out of space to be able to use it? Alascari. Let's see. I have done a ton of different images. I was fiddling around with let me think. Yeah, but there was like I was looking and it seems like the basic subscription does it doesn't allow for the relaxed. It's like there's a limited number of fast and then it doesn't do anything else. Let's see. Oh wait, do we? Yeah. We'll go ahead and pull this. You want to build a pauper deck, but a lot of your cards are uncommon, or yeah, uncommons, rares, and mythics. Yeah, it's a little bit harder. You're probably just going to have to either go to a game shop and find a bunch of common cards that you can use, or you may have to order them online. I have a ton of commons because I've bought so many cards for so long. So I also have a lot of old cards from buying cards for so long. Oh, I guess the one thing that I didn't. What are silver bordered cards? That's a good question. Those are. They're known as cards because all of them come from sets that begin with unglued, unhinged, something like that. Yeah, so they did a complete pauper deck from only Homelands cards. Ugh, that would be sick. I mean, sick as in it would make me vomit. So silver bordered cards are meant to be as joke cards. Some of them can be expensive. Generally, they're not terribly expensive just because they're not played. And they have the silver border to let you know that you can't use them. Or you can't use them in tournaments, is what I should say. That I should clarify. They can't be used in tournaments. They can be used in other places if you're, if the people that you are playing are okay with seeing those cards being used, basically. No dice on Midjourney for Magic cards. Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't think we want Forge of Heroes. I was trying to make a dragon. Oh, tarot cards seem to work. Yeah, I'm not sure. There are some things that work really easily with Midjourney, and then there are some things that just don't work at all. And I don't exactly know what might be needed to be able to, like make stuff that isn't working into what is working. Bought a whole book of silver bordered cards. That's funny. Honest, I have a lot of silver bordered cards. I bought into one of the unsets that came out when I was still kind of actively buying cards. I haven't. I have one deck that uses a silver bordered commander. One deck that uses it because it's just generally really hard to find places that are acceptable. Like because some of the cards are busted. Like if you tried to use them normally, they do things that aren't necessarily always pleasant to have to deal with. So let me see if I can't find an example for you. Is silver bordered? Let's see. Let me think. I need to remember what they... Or maybe I can do... There should be a criteria to do it. To search for it. Confetti card, yeah. Well, there's one like I can do a really easy one for why they're considered ridiculous. It's one of my more favorite ones. Frazzled editor. It has protection from wordy, and that's literally what the card looks like. The pen is mightier than the sword. Yeah, it's really funny. There's a lot of really good jokey cards in there, but like this one is one of the ones that is just like miserable to have to deal with. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may ask target player a yes or no question. If you do, that player answers the question truthfully and abides by that answer if able until end of turn. So you can do just really obnoxious crap with Frankie Peanuts, where you can basically create a you can craft yes or no questions that do things that isn't very fun at all. And the mildest form of those are ones that basically, since it says that you have to answer truthfully and you have to abide by that answer, then you can force your opponent to forfeit their turn. Essentially, that's like the nicest thing that you can do with Frankie Peanuts. But I was going to find... I know that there's a function in the search engine that deals with silver bordered cards. Covered. Oh, seriously. They have a crap ton of these criteria, and it used to be like really easy to find some of these silver bordered cards, and and I'm sure that I'm just missing the frickin' thing that says. But now they don't have anything that says like, oh yeah, silver bordered right here. It'll be easier just to look at unsets. So I know it's like unhinged or unglued. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's one of the older ones. Yeah, here we go. Here's one that can be obnoxious as well. I mean, it is Ashnod's Coupon, 0 cost, tap sacrifice Ashnod's Coupon, target player gets you target drink. So in a casual setting, in like a fun setting, if you have this card, then it's you like, okay, go get me a go get me a Coke. And that can be fun, but then like I said, if you are playing legitimately and you're not very like it's not a friendly situation, you could like you could basically try to command somebody to buy you a really expensive drink just to be a jerk. You know what I mean? So it's like they're supposed to be fun cards because they're not meant to be taken seriously. I mean, especially when you have something like something like this old fogey. All of the abilities, it has all of the abilities printed on it. That's the abilities Magic will never use ever again, ever again, essentially. Snow-covered planeswalk, or that sort of stuff. There's a lot of those fun cards in it that I really like. Yeah, that's so cryptic. That's what I would do. Basically, that it's that sort of thing that I would do with Astronaut's Coupon. It wouldn't be a I wouldn't use it mean, but it can be used mean, so you have to like be careful about it. The I was trying to let me think about what the commander that I'm using. Let's see. Let me look it up real quick. Grusilda. Grusilda. This is the one I'm using for a commander deck. Yes, that's the other thing though. The kind of crazy thing is that the unsets generally have the prettiest lands that they've ever printed. I don't think I have one in here. I don't think I have the full art in here. I have another deck that has a full art on set mountain, and it's really cool. So yeah, Grusilda is the one that I used because I was like, I'll have fun mixing and matching creatures, and it'll be something that if I ever run into other people that are playing sort of casually with unsets, then I'll have one to go with it, basically. That's not too egregious, I should say. Oh, okay. Oh, he doesn't have any spares because he just started. It's I highly recommend him going to a local game store. I mean, a game store that's been dealing with Magic for a while. Ask them if they have like 50 of a card that they will never be able to sell because it's a piece of trash, like a common, and see if they'll just let him have them. And if he doesn't have, I mean, that's probably the quickest way, but honestly, if you want to get with me later, I have a shit ton of really shitty cards that I won't ever be bothered giving up so that they can be painted on and torn up or done whatever with. So let me know and maybe we can work that out. But the quickest way, like I said, would if game stores have tons of really crappy cards they'll never be able to sell. And if they're friendly enough, they should just be like, yeah, just get it out of my sight. Boxes of homelands. Gurgi keeps saying Homelands because Homelands is notoriously the worst set of Magic that was ever printed. And yeah, it's easily the worst set of Magic. It has like very few cards in it. The artwork is coherent, but awful. Just overall, generally awful. The effects, most of the effects don't make any sense why you would ever want it. Homelands is a great grocery store. if only if only Homelands as a set was like a grocery store, it would be better. If it was themed around a grocery store, it would be a better set than what it currently is. Ah, I see. Yeah, I could see that, Cryptic. Actually, you know what? I think there was a Homelands in my hometown when I grew up. Uh, I hear you, Cryptic. I'm kind of the person that wouldn't necessarily just give any cards away to anybody, but I have been known to give cards away sometimes. Especially when I'm like, I used to go to a game store and, well, the different game stores where I've lived and just kind of teach how to play Magic. Um, and while teaching how to play Magic, sometimes people would come up and ask for advice on building their deck. And actually, if you wanted to, I I wouldn't mind now kind of giving a look at the deck if you have a deck link for it. Um, Let me think. Yeah, because it's South Africa. No, sometimes people would come up asking for advice on deck building, and I mean like little kids, um, like 8-year olds and 10-year olds that are just learning how to play. And if I just happen to have a card that fits into the deck that they're building, I've been inclined to just be like, hey, I think this card would be really good for you. Go ahead and take it. I don't mind. Just because I like seeing people have fun and being able to play, and like, I don't know, it doesn't bother me to give away cards generally. Let's see. Yeah, basic lands as well. Okay, so I do have a few cards. It has been. It can be said that I have a few cards. A couple, one or two boxes. Hmm. All interesting stuff I'm seeing here. Test of endurance. Since you're doing a lot of life gain, that'll be good. Let's see, instance. Let's see. Halo Fountain. Okay, you have two of them. Hmm. Yeah, if you have two of them, that's not too bad of a trade. I mean, you're losing out a little bit, but if you're getting a card that you want and you need, then it can be worth it, especially with how volatile pricing with Magic cards really is. I mean, anything there there's cards that used to be $50 that are now like 10 or 15 or something like that, and there's cards that used to be nothing and are now super expensive. Super super expensive. Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of good cards in here. You have a decent deck. I mean, it's a decent start. There's definitely going to be room for improvement, but I don't see anything necessarily wrong with it as far as a beginner deck is concerned. Um, Especially, I mean, stuff like Archangel of Thune is a super, super, super strong card. I mean, that's. I wish I had like four more of that card. I have like one copy, and I have like three different decks it could go into, or something like that. So, and there's other stuff that is really strong. I mean, Emiria Shepherd is a really, really good angel card that generates so much value over time that 7 mana is definitely worth it. Um, oh, interesting. Ornithopter of Paradise. That's a very new card. I haven't seen it. A lot of these I recognize, some of them I don't. Like that one I just said I didn't recognize. You have a decent spread of. It looks like you have a decent number of removal effects. I could see if you're not playing one on one, I could see that you change out Glorious Enforcer. Let me go back and look at um, Glorious Enforcer. Where is that? There you go. Let's see. Yeah, I could see that switching that out because this. So, like dealing 10 damage isn't anything to scoff at, right? Um, but that's still a lot of mana to get that effect, and it's really what you're looking at there is you're looking at a 7 cost angel with flying for 5. I mean, like, sorry, a 5/5 flying angel for 7 mana, because you can't always guarantee that you're going to have more mana or more life than. Well, I guess it's. Yeah, you're not always going to be able to guarantee that you have more life than all of your opponents. Um, and the lifelink effect that's on that angel is already kind of covered by your commander because your commander gives lifelink, if I remember correctly. Right? Let's see. Lyra. Oh, Lyra isn't in the list. I was thinking Lyra Dawnbringer. Let me look again. Yeah, other angels you control have +1/+1 lifelink. So it's almost certain that with Lyra being lower cost than the Lyra being lower cost as your commander than that Angel Glorious Enforcer, um, you're going to have Lyra out by the time that you play it, unless people are just really hurting on your commander. Now, see if it was like Glorious Enforcer gave double strike to all of your creatures, that would be another thing. That would be completely different. But it's basically like, I mean by itself, it's essentially a 7 cost 5/5 flyer with nothing else, because the other two effects are either canceled out. Now, if you have your commander out, it'll be 6/6, but it's still like a 6/6 flying angel for 7 is only kind of so versus being able to pay a couple of extra mana and being able to equip your commander or another really, really strong angel. I mean, like a better angel with Helm of the Hosts. So I would say that that's a good trade. The double strike is sort of incidental, and it's just something that you're not going to be able to always guarantee. And you have plenty of creatures to be able to take advantage of with Helm of the Hosts. So I don't think that taking out one of your 32 creatures, 33-ish creatures, is going to be that bad. With your land and ramp, let me think about that. Let me look back. I think your lands are a little low. I'm angels, since they generally cost so much mana. Like what is your converter mana cost? It's going to tell us. 3.3.5 is your mana curve. Yeah, I'm I'm thinking that you're going to want to try bumping it up to 37, I think. I know that sounds like a lot. It's going to take out some cards that you don't want to take out, but I think that with that low of mana, you're going to want to, let's see, one, two, three, four. And let me look at the rest of this stuff because you don't have anything like land tax or tithe or some of the other stuff. Your artifact count that's really going to be getting you into higher mana cost stuff. You really just have arcane signet, sort of basalt monolith a little bit, but it's really just one turn's worth of ramp. Soul ring and thought vessel. That's you have really only four artifacts that are getting you any mana at a low cost. So yeah, you want to go down and convert a mana cost. So what I'm saying is that currently it's saying, at least this link is saying that you only have 34 land. Generally, if you want like a good practice for how to do land count in Commander, you kind of want to start in your sort of 40 to 38 range and then add or subtract based on your strategy and how much ramp you have. And in mono white, there's virtually no literal ramp outside of artifact. There's only a few cards that really ramp you. And so you're probably going to want to have more lands than 34 is what I'm saying. So that's what I mean. Yeah, 37 lands is what it. Sorry if I if I didn't say that clearly. 37 lands is probably what I would say. So what would I take out? I would almost immediately take out Ankh of Mishra because you don't really unless you're really taking advantage of sort of low cost ping type effects, ping, which are like ping effects are effects that deal like one and two amounts of damage, usually just one, over and over and over again. And that's what Ankh of Mishra is going to do. And you don't really have anything else in your deck aiming, that's like coupling Ankh of Mishra with something else. So you're going to get some incidental stuff, some incidental damage. Some players that like green players are going to be ramping like crazy and going to deal a lot of damage to themselves. But generally speaking, it's just not going to be very effective unless you're playing a lot of those kinds of ping effects. So that would be one card I'd almost immediately take out. Just because it's not really doing you all that much good. Like it's helping you, well, it would help you technically speaking a little bit with like the Glorious Enforcer card. But it's still, even then, it's not really going to be worth it for your strategy. So that would be one that I would consider taking out. It's really up to you. Don't take this to mean that I know at all what I'm talking about. Do what like play the deck and get a feel for it and see how you feel about it, and then go from there. Let me see. I'm kind of looking at some of your other cards here. I would say Omen of the Sun is one. And the reason I say that, unless you have a good reason for those tokens, the effect is going to be generally fairly minimal. It doesn't combo. It doesn't combo at all with your commander unless you have an effect that is changing those tokens as they come into play into angels. And the 2 life that you gain from it entering the battlefield is nothing. It's going to be nothing compared to any of the other life gain effects that you have, especially since it's only a one-time thing. So unless you're somehow like playing it and like bouncing Omen of the Sun over and over again, it's not going to be doing you much good. So I would say that that's probably another good candidate for taking it out, or for taking something out. Grandfather Clock. Let's see. I would also hesitate to use something like Revitalize. Again, for the same kind of reason. So, like I said, the other one, the other effect was, or the other effect that we just talked about was a one-time effect. And those tokens are most likely going to be almost more useful to you than that single card when it comes to mono white. And we decided to take it out. So Revitalize is even worse because mono white plays really well with enchantments. That's why I was saying, like if you had a reason to keep that enchantment in, like you had some way to return it back to your hand or bounce it or something like that, and white does have a few of those kinds of effects that you could take advantage of. Mono white does nothing with instants and sorceries. Like they have them, but they don't take advantage of them in any kind of special manner. Not like red and blue and black does. Well, I mean red and blue primarily. So Revitalize is basically saying I'm going to pay 2 mana to gain 3 life that I could have, like played some other card that would gain me even more life. And the one card that I drew off of it is probably, you're getting 1 card out of it, but you lost 1 card to do it. So it could be a better card, essentially. And if you're struggling to get mana, then almost certainly this card would be a card that you'd want to consider taking out. There are decks that you can take advantage of white instance like that, but it's basically a very specific commander does it. Let me show you what I mean, because it's not a mono white commander basically. Is this the name? No. Okay, here we go. It's got, my computer's going slow. This guy, I call him what is it? Crap. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is what I call this card. Or whatever that name is. I can't, those 2 names are. Anyway, so if you look, this one says whenever a white instant or sorcery spell gains you life, it deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So, like, that's one specific instance where that kind of card might be okay, and even then there are better cards than that one. So, Chaplain's Blessing. Let me see. Oh, let me do this. Here we go. I'm just going to look it up. Hang on a second. I totally misspelled that. That's okay. Yeah, Again, okay, yeah. No, that's not going to be a very good card. See, some of those cards like that are like one-time effects, gain life, they have a specific place in Magic, and that specific place is draft. Because when Wizards of the Coast prints cards, they have to print cards for all sorts of different kinds of formats, and one of those formats is is the draft environment. So Chaplain's Blessing is a lot better. Is honestly almost a pretty good card in draft, or in the draft formats that it came out in, because a one cost gain 5 life matters a lot more in draft than it does anywhere else. So that particular card isn't meant or designed for any other format except for draft. So no, it's not going to be a very good card for Commander at all. It's a pretty bad card for Commander. Where's the other? I need to take these cards out. Do. Oh, I need to do it that way. Let me think about. Because I don't think I have a single. I don't think I have a single like a instant or sorcery effect that just gains life unless it does something else in my deck, or that it gains a ton of life. Well, oh, what was the last card? It was oh crap. Revitalize. Sorry, did I not say revitalize? So yeah, gain 3 life, draw a card. I don't know if I put that on screen or not, or said it. Yeah, revitalize is the card that you're going to want to take out. Or again, that's just my opinion. I don't necessarily know that that's the perfect way to do it. There's definitely arguments for putting it in if you can take advantage of it, and basically that's going to be it. Play the deck, see how it goes, and if it seems like maybe you need something else, or maybe you have some other cards that you can find that take advantage of an effect like that, all I'm saying is that generally that effect is not going to be very good for what you currently have built. So I've heard that Approach of the Second Sun is a great card. I have not gotten to play around with it yet. Okay. I think that's about all that I'm going to do with the stream. I guess I didn't really talk about lands, but pretty much what I'm going to do with lands here, especially when I do with 2-color decks like this, I'm pretty much just going to, like, I have a few lands right here. Whatever's left over, I'm just going to split in half and do even Steven on mountains and swamps, and that's it. Nothing else special when it comes to, like, these first builds, because I want to see if I can get away with not having to put in a bunch of specialized lands if I need to, or if I can get away with it. Especially with a 2-color deck, you can almost certainly get away, generally speaking, with half and half. Now, when it comes to the more competitive you get, the more you have to put in dual lands and fetch lands and like pain lands and so on and so on and so on. All of the specialized lands that deal with getting you 2 or 3 different colors of mana. You're going to have to put in more and more of those because you need the consistency of having the colors, all of the colors of mana that you need exactly every single turn have all of the different types. So, yeah, you could do that. Windburst Kites would be great, especially because it'll give you the opportunity to potentially shirk the cost of a really really high cost Angel. That'll definitely be a good card. I mean, basically, would you rather pay 1 mana for a 7 cost Angel or 7 mana? And you're almost, I mean, like, you're kind of a creature deck. You're going to have generally enough creatures to be able to activate it. Now, it depends on sort of your meta. If your meta is really high in with wrath effects, then maybe it's not going to be quite as good. But yeah, Windburst Kites would be a good card, I would think, with Angels. In fact, I think I do have Windburst Kites in my Angel build. Yeah, I don't think that's the right. Chromatic Orrery will probably not be the right fit for what you have in your Angel deck. You may have to save it for another commander deck. So yeah, and that's so what I was going to say is the other reason why I don't generally put a bunch of specialized lands in these smaller builds is because I have so many commander decks. Don't have I don't have enough of the specialized lands to put in every single one. And that's just the long and short of it. So we're getting kind of to the end of the stream, so I don't have anywhere to send us off to, so I'm probably just going to close down the stream. Thank you, Cryptic, very much for the conversation, and I really wish you good luck. I play I don't know if I said so I generally go for a calmer, very, very casual game on Sundays. And then Wednesday or Thursday, depending upon work and how I'm feeling, I typically do a more complex game. And so when I say a game, I play 3 or 4 different commander decks against each other at the same time. And I have a big table that I have the decks on, and I spin the table around to take each of the deck's turns, and I go through all the different steps and stuff like that. So this deck building isn't the only thing that I do. It just happened that I had a deck to to try to build today. So thank you for adding me. I appreciate that. I hope I catch you again another day. Otherwise, have a great rest of your weekend. And yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. So have a good day, and I will see you guys next time.